Today, we're talking confidence and specifically how to embody confidence as a leader in a social impact organization.
I felt completely unequipped to lead this particular project. I often question, am I the right guy to do this?
If you're not confident and you come across as being wishy-washy or indecisive or whatever, flavor of non-confidence that you have, my sense and my experience, frankly, has been that is a not constructive way to be as a leader.
Being a confident leader does not necessarily mean being an asshole. You can be confident and humble.
The longer that you do something in any given niche or field, the more you realize how little you actually know about that work. I'm Eric Ressler.
I'm Jonathan Hicken.
And this is Designing Tomorrow. Jonathan, today we're talking confidence and specifically how to embody confidence as a leader in a social impact organization. I think there's a lot to unpack here, actually, but let me tell you about how this topic came to be. So I'm a big fan of David C. Baker. He is a consultant for agency leaders like myself. And he, over his years of working with different agency owners, noticed that agency owners who were more confident significantly overperformed their peers. And then he went on to actually break down how to create competence and confidence as an agency owner through an equation. And his equation is confidence equals opportunities divided by capacity, which basically means that if you have more work than you can handle, it's going to give you confidence. And if you have less work than you need, it is going to erode your confidence, which I can absolutely confirm. So that's maybe an equation that we could try and figure out how to right size for the social impact sector. If we think about maybe fundraising opportunities compared to your capacity to do the impact, whatever. But that's not actually where I want to go today. I want to go a little bit more abstract and obscure and just talk about confidence in general and how that plays into leadership in the social impact space and why confidence is important, my own struggles and journey with confidence over the years, and then also a little bit about when being overconfident can actually become a problem. Are you game?
Let's go.
All right. So let me start with some personal reflections on confidence. I've actually had huge struggles with confidence, not even just in the professional setting, but actually even more so kind of in the personal setting around even like things like social situations and anxiety. The very common one that I think most people struggle with is confidence in any kind of public speaking situation. As a creative director and as a founder of Cosmic, I've had to present, really high stakes presentations to really high stakes people many, many, many times. And over the last 15 years, I've built a good amount of confidence as a leader and as a creative director for Cosmic. And I feel generally pretty comfortable. But I got to be honest, this is something I still struggle with as I'm growing. And especially when we're in a situation where we're doing something new, like we have a new approach for how we do a part of our process, or we're starting to sell a new service or new offering. This is where I see it come into play the most, which is, logical, right? If it's something that I don't have as much experience with, then I'm not going to be as confident in it. But I'm just kind of curious, just in general, is this something you think about at all as a leader or in life?
All the time. In fact, there's a project in my professional sphere that I am working on right now and have been for about a year and a half, where I felt completely unequipped to lead this particular project. I mean, the level of specialized knowledge in order to get the job done was so niche that I often question, am I the right guy to do this?
Yeah.
And so absolutely, and that's just one small example where my confidence has taken a hit. Or if I make a decision where the results aren't what they need to be, my confidence takes a hit. Absolutely. And certainly in my personal life, I think for me, my struggles with confidence often have to do with relationships or even how I look. So, those struggles absolutely exist for me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I remember this is making me reflect on something. In the early days of Cosmic, we had a friend and a partner who introduced us to a client. And the client needed a video produced and shot and filmed and packaged and everything. And our friend, at the time, I had just started like falling in love again with like video and film work, which I did a lot of when I was younger, and then hadn't really done professionally. But I was kind of getting back into it. Had some cameras and some gear, not a ton, like very, very minimal setup. And my friend at the time was like, "Oh, well, you guys need a video. Well, like these guys can do that for you." And I remember the client like turning to us and saying, "Oh, you guys do video production?" And I was like, yeah, we could do that." And so it was this moment of just like really having to take a leap of faith and having to essentially fake it till you make it. And I think there's some amount of that is just entrepreneurial, right? Is about building a business, is about growing as an organization. Is like if you're always in your comfort zone, you're not growing by definition. And there's obviously, a way to take that so far that you're essentially being a fraud. Or, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome in modern culture. And I think there is a lot of imposter syndrome. And then there are actual just imposters too, right? And so like where is the line there? I don't think it's necessarily clear. But I think there is a need sometimes to embrace a space of growth and even a space of stretching where you actually are as a leader or as an organization. And it's not going to be comfortable. And how do you build confidence around, I can get through this? And I think that's really, maybe that almost starts to get more into the term like resilience, right? Of like, okay, well, we've gone through hard things before and we've made it out. I know that although this is hard for me right now, either because I'm going through a difficult time as a person or as an organization, or we're taking a big leap of faith, I know that we're going to get through this. And so there's, I think, this interesting balance between confidence and resilience and growth.
I think confidence, it begs the question of what are we confident in, right? Is it confidence in my inherent value as a person or as a leader? Am I confident in that the destination is the right destination? Am I confident in my skill set? Right? There's I think, I don't know. This is occurring to me right now that there's like an element of like where do you place your confidence and where do you embody that confidence?
To tie it back to the topic at hand here, embodying confidence as a leader, maybe we should just start by agreeing or disagreeing or debating, should leaders be confident? I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think they should. And I think that the reason for that is building confidence is a good skill to have, and to do it authentically means that you are stretching and growing as a person. And also, if you are going to lead, you need to be confident in your leadership. And if you want people to follow and to support and to be part of that, if you're not confident and you come across as being wishy-washy or indecisive or whatever, flavor of non-confidence that you have, my sense and my experience, frankly, has been that is a not constructive way to be as a leader.
I agree. And I think that it's important to note that being a confident leader does not necessarily mean being an asshole.
I will double click on that. Yes.
Right? I mean,
yes.
I think we can sometimes conflate those two concepts, right? That confident leaders are assholes, and maybe they are sometimes. I'm sure some people in my universe would think that about me, and I'm comfortable with that. But I do think that there's like what you can be confident and humble. You can be confident and a quiet leader. There are different flavors of confidence.
Totally agree. And I think let's talk about when confidence goes too far and kind of the pitfalls of being overly confident. So you described a really classic example of someone who's confident but also kind of an asshole. And that can work, right? I don't think that's probably what anyone should aim for. And I think sometimes people are actually being an asshole because they're not confident. In my experience, a lot of times, especially like the world's smartest people or the leading expert in any given field, sure, they have some level of confidence, but they actually also usually have a contradictory trait, which is being extremely humble, if not second guessing themselves a lot. Or I think another way of saying this is the longer that you do something in any given niche or field, the more you realize how little you actually know about that work. I think about this a lot in doing branding work and marketing work. I've been doing it my entire adult life. I've been running Cosmic for 15 years. And there are days and times where I wake up and I'm like, God, there's just so much to learn here still. And the thing that I thought I knew that I was so sure about a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, I actually don't think that's right anymore. And maybe that's because the world is changing. Maybe that's because my perspective is changing. But I actually think that is a more confident essence than someone who just assumes they're right all the time, who might seem confident on the surface, but if you start to peel the layers back, you realize it's actually coming from a place of lack of confidence or other deeper emotional issues that they might have.
Sounds to me like you feel really confident in your own ability to learn and adapt and rise to the occasion or rise to the challenge. That's what I'm hearing. I relate to that. So my career has been a bit of a winding one. I haven't been in social impact my whole career. I started in academia. I thought I was going to do that. That didn't work out. I moved into tech. I was in tech. Then I moved into the social impact space, but have been in different sort of sectors of the social impact space. And the thread for me all along through all of that was had to do with skill. So I was confident in a certain set of skills, even if I wasn't a content matter expert. But I knew that my skills in research and in team building and in strategy and in fundraising were going to serve me and be transferable, kind of no matter where I went. And so for me, the fun was actually kind of exploring and finding where I was going to end up. But the confidence came because I knew I was confident in my skill set and I was confident that I could transfer those skills to these different areas.
Yeah, I think that tracks. And I think I've experienced that in my own way in building up my own set of skills. Yeah, more broadly around creativity and branding. And I think the skill that I've become that's the most built over time that wasn't necessarily inherently part of my skill set was understanding how to apply my passion for creativity and design specifically into in a way that could actually create business outcomes that could tie into strategy that could serve and move organizations forward and not just be an art project. And I think to some degree I always understood that. I've had a pretty good intuition for business sense in a way that's served me quite well. And, I'm very thankful for that. But I think it's honestly maybe come from a place of this lack of confidence and having to build that and wanting to make sure that I'm over delivering because I don't want to let people down, because I don't want to, kind of have an expectation that I set in a conversation and then not come through on that for a client or for a partner or for my own team or whatever it is. Another thing I've noticed is that even my own like kind of personal confidence in myself, there's also, I think as a leader, a confidence in your team and your organization and your ability to meet your mission that's also at stake here. At least that's what I've experienced. So, as a personal example, throughout the kind of pandemic period and making a transition from being a very, brick and mortar studio where we had, a big table we all sat around and a lot of our networking and work came in through, just referrals and people like understanding that we exist because of our location. We had to make a really big transition into being a remote first global agency, which we've done, which has been something I'm very proud of, but was a really bumpy road. And I realized actually quite recently, even just this year, that I had created a set of limiting beliefs for myself and for my agency around how successful we were ever going to be able to be, because I kind of recalibrated my vision and my expectations for what I could achieve based on some of the challenges that we went through in that period. As an example, like looking at just like particular revenue goals or like even thinking about growing the team to a certain degree. We've tried things over the years and failed. And after a certain amount of attempts and failures, there's kind of a logical conclusion that's just like, well, it's a limiting belief based in fact and reality versus personality deficiencies, right? But I don't think you can actually separate those things as cleanly as I had in my brain. I kind of reset my expectations for what I could accomplish, what Cosmic could accomplish. And I think, frankly, I put that bar way too low. I had like, I maybe it was a mix of some burnout. Maybe it was because I was going through a time in my life where I have a lot of focus on family and raising my 2 kids and wanting to make sure to be there for that. And that just, I only have so much energy and attention that I can give to the world. And some of that was taken away from Cosmic and given to my own life and my family, which was a choice that I made. But I actually think that it was a lack of confidence or a kind of like a calcification of limiting beliefs that was happening subconsciously because of, trials and tribulations.
You're inspiring me to do some inner work here, understanding kind of how I'm positioning myself at the Seymour Center and what's possible for us. But one of the something you said just sparked some inspiration, which is around kind of letting go of myself a bit as in terms of my personal journey to confidence building, right? Where it's like it's not about me, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I think having a kid accelerated that
Sure.
perspective, and I think any parent out there probably can relate to this, where there's this like celestial shift in the way that you see the world, and in a way that I think I'm still undergoing that transformation as a social impact leader, and I think I do sometimes over index on my own impact, on the organization. And I'm learning and starting to see, and it's a really liberating feeling to be like, it's not about me, right? And I'm just one player with one particular role. And there's something very confidence building about that perspective.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I have a role in this. I have a place, but I'm just one of many. And that can feel really powerful. And for me, it's actually given me quite a bit of confidence, especially when I'm pitching a new program or a new concept or a new vision, because I'm able to divorce myself from the conversation and really like embrace this idea that this has nothing to do with me at all.
Yeah. So for you, it's kind of like that shift in perspective takes a little bit of the pressure off.
It takes pressure off, but to me, pressure is not the problem for me, at least, right?
Okay.
I can handle pressure. It's more of maybe it's a shedding of fear, which is for me kind of like plays into my ability to be confident and embody confidence and show confidence.
Yep.
And when I can see, our mission as completely divorced from my own contributions to it, that to me washes away some of the fear and I think helps me show up as a more confident leader.
So let's talk about when this can go too far. And I think it actually shows up in a couple different ways. We talked about the asshole version of confidence, which is not recommended, even if it might sometimes be effective. Although I do think that is usually a short-term effectiveness or a trade-off that maybe just doesn't need to happen, right? But there's another common version of this that I've actually seen, which is the really charismatic leader. And, I think we all understand the power of charisma, right? And I think a lot of people are trying to work towards that. But I think a lot of what I've experienced and what I've observed is that these charismatic leaders seem to just be kind of born this way, right? And they can be extremely powerful and extremely effective in rapidly moving an organization forward, whether they're the founder of the organization or a new, board member or CEO or executive director who maybe wasn't the founder. These people can seemingly move mountains, right? And that might translate to fundraising or partnerships or networking. These people are often also very highly networked because people who are charismatic are, attract a lot of other people. But I think that if that charismatic leader is taking on too much of the burden of the organization and too much of the ability for that organization to survive and thrive is based on that one charismatic leader, that can be a problem. I've seen that happen multiple times where a charismatic leader is essentially carrying the organization and then that leader retires or moves on or gets in a fight with the board chair or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden their presence is gone and the whole house of cards just kind of crumbles down.
I've worked in an organization like that. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, being in it while it's happening is very exciting.
Right.
And there are downfalls, and I won't get into the details right now, but I think some of that happened when this particular charismatic leader left the organization. That there was a period of dip.
Yep.
And understandably so, because they were so charismatically powerful.
I think the solution to some of these, investing too much in confidence of just a given leader is that, as much as I think we want leaders to build healthy confidence, we also need to build organizational confidence and competence, right? So if you have a charismatic leader or an effective leader or whatever, you just have to make sure that you can build out the support structure and the operations to support that leader, and also in a way that the leader is not carrying too much of the burden or leaving a big hole if they do leave for whatever reason. So the other thing that I think is important in terms of like, how do we build confidence and competence at more of an organizational level, and I think this will only strengthen a leader's ability to be competent, is to be really strong on some of the foundational things that we talk about a lot on this show. Things like owning a niche, having a strong brand, having effective marketing and communications and fundraising, because all of that is going to better position your organization against other similar organizations in your space or competing organizations in your space in a way that will give you confidence because it's earned, right? It's earned confidence and earned competence. And I think that as I've been building Cosmic and I've watched other nonprofit organizations and social enterprises build, one thing that is clear to me is that even with or without a charismatic or confident leader, the organizations that are the most effective and by extension the most competent and confident are the ones that have done that hard work and have meaningful answers to those questions. And that if you don't have that strong foundation, then it just becomes harder to build that confidence because you're not really building it on a strong foundation.
Yeah, and confidence, I think, breeds confidence.
Yes.
And so, when you when you start to develop excellence and competence in those areas, I think it's kind of one of those snowball effect kind of things. So So I think it's really important actually for organizations that are small or starting up or getting going to nailing all these fundamental pieces early on, because that's going to help you attract talent. That's going to help you attract funding and board members and all of the sort of the necessary ingredients for a high performing social impact organization.
Yeah, I agree. And there's actually a term to describe that, which is called the Matthew effect, which is a term I wasn't familiar with until just recently, but it confirms that exact observation, which is that, yeah, confidence breeds competence, and competence leads to more competence. And I think I've experienced this with my own organization and watching others as well. And so how do you get that traction, right? I think that's a lot of what we are exploring in this show. To kind of wrap it up here, I think I want to make a claim, and I think hopefully we agree on this, which is that I think working to build confidence as a leader, if you do it with the right intentions and you do it healthily in a way where you're not also an asshole, in a way that you're not overextending that confidence as a crutch for the rest of the organization, I think is a worthwhile goal. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. And I think the ways that you do that are also synergistically just going to help you be a more effective leader in general. So I think we should all be striving for this in a healthy way. I would love to hear stories from listeners and the community around how you've struggled with this. But Jonathan, this has been a fun one, kind of an interesting topic. So thanks for dissecting it with me.
Yeah, it felt like we were opening the kimono a bit. Thanks, Eric.
A little bit. Thanks, Jonathan. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, or even leave us a comment. It really helps. Thank you. And thank you for all that you do for your cause and for being part of the movement to move humanity and the planet forward.